Good morning and welcome to this session on what is dual language education and how this model of education is advancing excellence and equity in Catholic schools. My name is Elena Sada and I am the director of the network of dual language schools that Boston College through the Roche Center advises and supports. And you can contact me through my email or through the event platform on the screen. So the objective for today, the object of learning is actually a knowledge-based objective. It's not skill-based, and it is for participants to be able to respond to the following 4 questions. The first one is, what is dual language education? Why is dual language education expanding? How does it work? And what is the Roche Center for Catholic Education doing to promote dual language education? And I recommend at this point that if you do not have a notebook or a computer to take notes on, that you pause the video and that you acquire something to write with so that you can take notes as we move on. There will be the possibility or the reminder to stop at the end of each section, which addresses each of the 4 questions, so you can respond to the question that we are seeking to address. Thank you. And as every activity in our life, we can offer an intention or a purpose. We activate our mindfulness and we center ourselves and invoke the Holy Spirit, the grace of God, to be able to take advantage of this next few minutes and this opportunity. So what is dual language education? There is a book called The Guiding Principles for Dual Language Education, and they refer to dual language as any program that provides literacy and content instruction to all students through 2 languages. So what is dual language education? It is a school setting. It could be the whole school or a program within a school that actively pursues the following 3 goals: academic excellence, like any other high achieving school, bilingualism and biliteracy, and sociocultural competence. In addition, a Catholic dual language school pursues a 4th goal, which is a Christ-inspired life of virtues for all participants. So one of the conditions for success is in a dual language program is language instruction and allocation. So this is not just any bilingual program where you use 2 languages in a non-structured way. The use of language has to be first intentional and strategic to produce bilingualism, which is the ability to communicate in all 4 language domains: speaking, listening, reading, and writing, using 2 languages. It also has to have purposefully designed opportunities for cross-linguistic connections and meta-linguistic development. That is, to be able to see side by side the differences and similarities between languages and how one translates into the other one in order to really develop the brain ability to be completely bilingual. And lastly, it has to monitor students' progress in both the content area, like any high-achieving school would, but also in both languages across all 4 domains. So at this point, take some time. If you need to go back, you can do so, and answer the question in your own notes: what is dual language education? Answer it with your own words first, and then if you need to, go back and review some of the main aspects of dual language, the definition from the guiding book, or potentially the 3 goals or the 4th goal for Catholic dual language, or what are some of the key elements for success in this type of bilingual program. So we covered what is dual language education briefly, succinctly, but hopefully holistically. And the next question would be, why is dual language education expanding? So dual language education brings many benefits. First of all, it increases working memory. Secondly, it improves ability to focus, what we call the cognitive flexibility. Then it also fosters empathy, understanding of differences, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And lastly, it prepares for global work and perspectives. Additionally, when it comes to academic achievement, dual language education is the red line on the top of the graph, has proven to help students achieve better, even in English language arts. And many of the scholars attribute this to the metalinguistic ability and recognitions, and skills that students develop in the program. It also has many socio-emotional and sociocultural benefits. Here we see in this picture a grandmother with her children, and one of the greatest research findings is to see the connection that prevails in students with their own cultural identity, with their family identity, and with their own self-identity as they move forward. And this mindset of self allows them for greater achievement in the future. So it instills pride in home language and culture. It strengthens intergenerational continuity. It fosters cross-cultural competence, multicultural appreciation, and positive attitudes towards those who come from diverse backgrounds. And it can lead to cultural humility because we understand different perspectives in a more flexible way. So this is just an example of one of the studies done in this area. Dual language education also enhances communication skills and multiple perspectives, as we said. And this was seen through the research where the researcher was standing behind the desk with two bananas. One was actually covered by her laptop, and she was asked, she asked the students participating in this research, there were a small sample, but half of them had been in dual language or were in dual language and the other half were not. And she asked the students to pass her a banana in the form this picture shows. And the students in dual language education would offer her the banana, even though they were sitting closer to the banana behind the desktop. The students that were bilingual would offer her the banana that she could see. And the students who were not bilingual would offer her the banana that was closest to them. In this case, it was the one behind the desktop that she could not see. So there's this sensitivity right away to what the other person can see that was seen in this research. So why Catholic dual language? Not only because of the benefits we mentioned, but also because according to this research, actually, the Catholic school choice, parents, Hispanic parents, Catholic Hispanic parents, who are one of the largest populations eligible to participate in our Catholic schools, positioned being bilingual and the school being bilingual as one of the top priorities in their choice. So from this research, we know that one of the main groups that could contribute to a potential enrollment increase in Catholic schools in the Hispanic Catholic parents, this group that I mentioned, believe that more than any other motivation in joining a school would be that the school, the possibility of the school to be bilingual over religion or even over ethnicity. They also believe that one of the most important aspects in schools is diversity and offering a welcoming environment They also believe that this is one of the aspects that is unfortunately missing the most in Catholic schools, and their report states. So at this point, you can take some time to jot some ideas down of why dual language education and why it's important, which are its benefits. Write down or highlight in your notebook some of its main benefits or raison d'être of dual language education. So now for your notes, you can add this very relevant and important reason, and that is because we follow Christ's example. Christ reflects his asset-based perspectives of people and their communities in the gospel, and he also echoes a call to equity and social justice. And dual language education does the same. This reflects this asset-based perspective of people and their communities, including their language, and it echoes a call to equity and social justice. So we spoke about what is dual language education, why dual language education. Now let's address how does it work. So there's some important programmatic aspects of dual language education that we need to consider. There are several models, program choices based on specific objectives. The goals are always the same four that we spoke in the first section, but there could be specific objectives that the school wants to pursue. And it also depends on the school's population, the faculty of the school, and the culture. So in order to determine which specific choices or identify the choices that the school needs to make, the first big decision is which of the models are we going to use? So the school typically considers two possibilities. One is to begin with a 50% target language, which could be Spanish, Portuguese, Mandarin, Arabic, French, Italian, and 50% English. And it sustains it in that 50-50 throughout school grades. The second model is a model that addresses many times the need to counteract a little bit or offer a greater immersion in the target language, knowing that there's less of that language in the community, if that's the case. So they begin with the target language being 90% in kindergarten and English only 10%, but they move gradually to a 50-50 by third and fourth grade. So there's many other specific choices, and this is just an image of what a 100, 0, 90, 10 would look like with a group, for example, of predominantly Spanish speakers from an area. We can start pre-K being in Spanish, moving into English language arts in kindergarten, into English language arts and an additional subject in first grade, 2 more subjects by second grade, subsequently until we also even have more time for English than, or the same time for English and Spanish until we get to secondary, which typically implies more English just for programmatical aspects. And it doesn't have to be a Spanish immersion. It could also be in or a Spanish population. It could also be an English-only population. Utah and other states have expanded their programs, particularly for English-only speakers, and they immerse them in the second language at an early age, in addition to including the phonics in English, and then they expand the English program moving forward. In that way, they're able to compensate for the lack of the target language in the community and be able to really produce bilingualism by the end of 6th grade. So many times the schools ask, but how do I start a dual language school if I don't have enough bilingual teachers or my teachers only speak English? So the answer would be we don't begin the whole program one year. We create the foundations for it. So typically the way to start is with a pre-K class or 2 pre-K classes or kindergarten, and we grow from there, 1 class, 2 classes, moving forward. So if there's a possibility of hiring bilingual teachers, 1 per year, this is a possibility. If you can hire bilingual teachers 1 per year, but you want to expand the school through this program, then you keep your English speakers, because you can actually use a Spanish and an English for each of the grades, and the Spanish speaker teaches half of the day in Spanish, and the English speaker teaches half of the day in English, 1 class, and then the next class or grade, the inverse. So this is actually the only world language program that doesn't demand additional personnel money, because you use the classroom teacher to teach the language. And finally, we use title money for resources and for training of staff and for translations for parents. So I'm hoping that at this point in this short video, you can address the third question: how does the language work? Write down what you remember about language allocation, about use of faculty, use of resources or payment for resources, and some of the decisions and choices that you make. And if you need to, you can go back to review and then take some notes in regards to this question. So our last question is, how does the Roche Center for Catholic Education in Boston College participates in this effort? So the Roche Center has different programs, and one of them is a 2-way immersion network for Catholic schools. So I, as a director, and 3 coaches with 1 other leader who does research, and an amazing team from Boston College, we assist and support a network. Today, there's 22 of those schools that affiliate with us in order to be part of a network of Catholic dual language schools that share ideas, resources, and coaching in order to continue developing our dual language Catholic schools. So in conclusion, I simply want to go back to our intention, to our mindfulness, and think about the big picture: how over 40% of Catholics are Hispanics in this country, and over half of the school-age Catholics in the United States are Hispanics, but only 4% of Hispanic school-age Catholics attend the Catholic school. And one of the main setbacks for them is the lack of diversity in the schools, according to the report I mentioned, the lack of bilingualism in the schools. So this program can be the venue that we seek as a church, as a community, in order to bring more or give the opportunity to more families to be able to place their children in schools where there's equity, where there's multiculturalism and bilingualism, and where they can not only feel welcome, but actually prepare their child for a life of success within a global world. Thank you very much. Please contact me if you have any questions. And I also need to remind you that our NCEA conference will be in New Orleans in 2022, April 19th to the 21st. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.